Clout has ruined the prices of many iconic American cars, but thankfully there still are some hidden gems found at affordable prices, at least at the time of me making this video. I'm not taking responsibility for raising prices, and if you try to blame me, I'm taking y'all down with me, because here are 5 American cars not ruined by Clout featuring y'all's tweets and suggestions. Pontiac Firebird. While Catfish Camaro New Edge Mustang prices have shot up drastically, late generation Pontiac Firebirds are still holding relatively similar prices from a few years ago. Obviously, the classic Firebirds are going for insane prices, and even the later models with the WS6 trim that features an LS1 in them can still go for a pretty penny. It is for sure the least affected by Clout compared to the other muscle car icons of this era. It only goes for a bit more than they used to, or even just maintains the same price as they used to. However, it has more mileage these days, so it technically means that the car has increased in value. Regardless though, if you don't care about the LS1 specifically and you just want a Firebird body, you can actually still find base model Firebirds easily underneath 10 grand all day, some even cheaper. If you do want some more power and reliability, surprisingly, you can still find the WS6 models for a little over 10 grand and maybe 15 for really nice ones. Point is, buying or owning these cars should not break the bank, assuming that you're still driving and maintaining them responsibly. Of course, Pontiac as a company has been gone for a while. However, a lot of these cars share the same parts with the Catfish Camaro as well as the C5 Corvette even. So replacement parts, both OEM or aftermarket, are still plentiful to come by. So you shouldn't have to stress or worry yourself too much. I still wouldn't recommend this to someone as their first car ever, but I would definitely recommend it as like a nice project car or a second car, kind of like something you keep off to the side that you just want to enjoy life a little bit with. What would make a decent first car actually is the next entry, being the Chevy Cobalt SS. Aside from being a funny car to down badge your Nissan GTR as so you can troll non-car people at stoplights, the actual Chevy Cobalt SS, for all the memes that people make of it, isn't actually that half bad of a performer. While it's nowhere near as fast as the GTR, it's definitely not a slouch either. The Cobalt SS makes around 205 horsepower and it actually weighs under 3,000 pounds, making it remarkably decent around corners as well as in straights, and overall still a punchy, nice feeling car. Now the reason these haven't shot up in value is because they share a body style with a base model Cobalt, and obviously having rather unremarkable looks does kind of prevent people from gravitating towards it, especially Clout culture. In my opinion, that's a good thing. That means that I wouldn't call this a sleeper car, so to say, because I still think it lacks the true power to be a true sleeper, but I would still call it a fun car. And again, for the fact that you can find this car for $5,000 to $10,000, I think that's a good buy. Another thing that also probably held it back from being a super sporty vehicle is the fact that it's front wheel drive instead of rear wheel drive or all wheel drive, which again probably also held it back from being ruined by Clout boys, especially on the drift scene, because drift tax is real. A lot of JDM cars and even some older muscle cars are now suffering it just because people want a nice rear wheel drive car that can fishtail easily or swing that booty out and get things going, you know? You probably could drift a Chevy Cobalt SS, but it's not people's first pick, therefore it has kept the prices down. One thing I would like to note is that there are sedans for this car, but less than 800 of them are made, so they're surprisingly rare for a Cobalt, which seems really funny. You would think those two things would not be in the same sentence together. That means that the majority of these that were produced are two-door vehicles, so even though they may be cheap to buy, like around 5 grand or even under, insurance for them may not be so thrilled to see that your first car ever is a two-door car. Thankfully, they're not really a super sporty car. The next car in this video is, I swear to God, you guys are just trolling me, because for some reason a lot of you guys tweeted and recommended the Ford Pinto, which, why in godforsaken car enthusiast hell did you guys recommend this? And not just like one person either, like a lot of you guys. Like, is this a joke I'm missing? I mean, don't get me wrong, you guys didn't fail the assignment, because technically speaking, yes, these cars have not been ruined by modern Clout, so Clout did indeed not ruin these cars. But we didn't need modern Clout to burn this car's reputation to the ground, because most of these cars already did that to themselves. Literally. You know, a car is so unreliable, dangerous, and bad that even Clout boys aren't willing to risk their lives trying to own one, and these are people who have main protagonist invincibility syndromes and complexes, yet they still live in fear of the Ford Pinto. To be fair, there isn't really anything remarkable about risking your life and owning one of these Pintos, because it's just overall an ill-fated design. It has its fuel tank in the rear, causing it to spontaneously combust at the mere thought of being rear-ended. I'm pretty sure if I threw a phone hard enough at the back, it might make a spark spark and set the whole car on fire. Maybe that's why gas stations always have those cell phone warnings when fueling. It's totally irrelevant for modern cars, but I'm sure the Pinto will find a way to make it relevant again. Unfortunately, it won't make any Clout boys relevant on social media, so because of that, Clout has not ruined this car any more than the literal fire hazard reputation and civil lawsuits have already ruined it decades ago. Good news is, if you really want it though, the Ford Pinto is not expensive. In fact, it is the exact opposite of expensive. It is so ridiculously dirt cheap. You can find these for like under $1,000 or under $2,000 or under $3,000 all day, every day on Facebook Marketplace. This is like please don't let this be the new Crown Victoria. I was about to say this is like the new Crown Victoria. No. The Crown Vic, when it was $500, that thing's still rad, man. And that thing at least came with the security of having a very reliable Ford modular V8 that's used in like all of these cars I'll just put pictures of. And yes, Koenigsegg's even used them. That is like a very prolifically used engine that was plenty of parts, really reliable, super safe, decent on gas. Same cannot be said for the Pinto. Look, buyer beware. I get that they're cute, quirky little cars, right? I know someone's gonna be like, I love my Pinto regardless. And you're entitled to that. You're entitled to love your Pinto. But the reality is, it's a car that's been discontinued for several decades now, and it suffers from a part shortage, resulting in a lot of the ones that you see under $3,000 especially, being in very junkyard-like conditions, with some of the ones under $2,000 or $1,000 not even being able to run yet. So don't just be fooled by the price. A lot of them are non-running examples. And of course, don't forget that they're still a literal fire hazard because haha, cargo, boom. I literally just put this car in the video because you guys bullied me essentially to the point where you guys aren't wrong. Like, I did have a very loose qualification of, oh, it just has to be an American car that was not ruined by Clout, and you guys did indeed do the assignment correctly. Next time though, I might make another rule to prevent that loophole from happening again. Actually, you know what? I'm not, because I love the chaos. So next time we do this for European cars or whatever, hit me with the best meme car you got. As long as it's not ruined by Clout, it counts. Speaking of, if you haven't seen my video on Japanese cars ruined by Clout, make sure to check it out after this one, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Anyways, moving on. Pontiac Solstice and Saturn Sky. This one we get 2 entries in one, as they are very similar cars, being near identical underneath, but visually different on the outside. These are basically American Miatas with their naturally aspirated variants making 177 horsepower, and they have a forced induction variant that, holy crap, makes 260 horsepower. I'm glad I re-remembered this car, and I'm glad that I got to research it again for this video. So to the folks recommending this car, y'all are absolutely correct, because the fact that I forgot this car already implies that Clout boys have probably also forgotten about this car. That's a really insane car, and honestly, for the prices you can get these at, that's a lot of fun to be had for that small of a package, and I'm kind of glad these cars are slept on, hopefully, and remain that way. We'll see. Oh, and for the Saturn Sky, Control-C, Control-V, same car as the Pontiac Solstice. Everything I said about the Solstice, same car underneath. Now, of course, different exterior. Buy whichever one that you just think looks prettier. Both of them surprisingly go for the same prices. Before moving on to the final entry, we have 3 honorable mentions. 1 weird, 1 expensive, and 1 classic. The weird one is the Pontiac Aztec. Why are you guys mentioning this? I mean, again, you're not wrong. This is my fault for not putting more strict guidelines. Clout indeed did not ruin this car, but maybe soccer moms at football tailgates did. Thankfully though, they're still in good running condition for most of them, and yeah, you know, I think we're just gonna put this here to satisfy the meme lords yet again. The Vector W8. So this is going to be the expensive one. The reason this isn't in the main video is because for most average viewers, this is like not super relevant information you need to know, but in the off chance you're one of my wealthier viewers who's like a millionaire or whatever, this car does qualify for not being ruined by Clout. Let's not pretend that Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and even now McLarens don't have some kind of rich boy, Clout boy status, and they have like entire communities that have ruined those cars. Don't get me wrong, those are still cool cars, but there are a lot of douchebag flexers who own those cars. As for the Vector though, you're never gonna find a douchebag flexer, because the whole point of a Vector is that it's still a supercar, but it has gone completely under the radar by Clout boys, despite the fact that some of them, like the Vector M12, actually are just a Lamborghini in a different dress, because it is the same engine, similar chassis, basically made by Lamborghini, because it was during I made a whole history video about it, okay? It's a very dark time for Lamborghini's company. People kind of forget that Lamborghini was like traded hands like 3 times in the 90s. And for the final honorable mention is the Plymouth Barracuda. So a lot of people hunt down Shelby Mustangs, Chevy Camaros, or Dodge Chargers when they think of classic muscle. Very few people remember Plymouth's existence. Understandably, they're a company that has closed down. This makes Plymouth muscle cars far more affordable, however, compared to other classic muscle cars. So this entry didn't make the main video because, again, classic car enthusiasts aren't like super prevalent in modern era. I just put the Ford Pinto in the main video. Never mind, I'm a total hypocrite, guys. Anyways, and now we have the real final entry, and holy crap, this is the fourth Pontiac in this video, and I promise I don't have a Pontiac bias. I was looking at a lot of American cars, and again, this is based on your guys' recommendations, so you guys are just upvoting a lot of Pontiac cars, but rather the trend that I'm seeing is that the reason there are a lot of Pontiacs in this video is because they were discontinued right before the like massive boom of internet clout culture. So the inevitable clout-riddled future that the rest of modern cars were doomed to exist in was completely subverted by Pontiac having their doors closed down. This leaves a lot of their cars in decent condition with great prices. The Pontiac GTO is yet another example of that. This car is marketed elsewhere as the Holden Monaro. It was built and assembled in Elizabeth, South Australia, and it does feature a Chevy-made LS1 for 2004 models and a 6-liter LS2 for 2005 and beyond models. The final generation of the GTO was not appreciated at launch, and a lot of old boomers complained that it was an insult to the original GTO's legacy. Admittedly, it looks nothing like it. The disdain for this car's appearance, however, would cause it to go under the radar and kind of sink in value even amongst millennial and Gen X buyers, leaving only the dedicated few of Gen Z to actually remember it, much less appreciate it. Regardless of whether or not you care about it spitting in the face of any sort of legacy, the reality is this car still has a sick LS2 that makes 400 horsepower with plenty of access to aftermarket parts, performance, and even replacement engines. These handsome sleeper cars can still be found for around $10,000 to $20,000, making them on the pricier side of cars in this video, but still very much within the affordable, attainable car. I would not recommend this as a first car because you'll probably get yourself in a lot of trouble if 400 horsepower is your first car ever. There's so few of these remaining, I don't want people to clout ruin it. I already said that with the whole Plymouth Barracuda thing. I'm not going to repeat myself, but look, compared to most other used cars with a V8, the GTO is actually an insanely decent bargain. And with that, we close out this video. If you love automotive content, make sure to subscribe, like, share, and check out my other Clout Boy videos if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter to get featured in future videos, and I also make shorts. Give them a watch. It's only a minute. Please, just 60 seconds. Anyways, thanks for watching and see y'all next time. Blade Angel out.